Now let's talk about the NFC North. Green Bay Packers were the champs, but let's look ahead, right? Let's spin it forward to this next season. Do they repeat as champs? What happens to the Bears? Do they get out of the basement? Let's talk about it, guys. And let's start with Green Bay.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, there's always this impression from Packer fans of Green Bay and free agency. It's this image, this caricature of Ted Thompson up in a shanty drinking a spotted cow up north of Baraboo. Inactive. Love Baraboo, yes.
Devil's Lake.
Yes, it's down at the Clown Museum there. I visited once, that's why I'm in therapy.
The remake, did you see that?
Yes, I did. The trailer's really good, Pennywise. So anyway, the idea would be they don't do anything. And so we sit around and we're the Packers, we don't do much. Well, they got active. They were very active in the first 96 hours, and I think it was pretty cool that Aaron Rodgers in his de facto exit interview would say, we need to reload a little bit here, okay? You know, the idea is, Peter, you know, you compared Aaron Rodgers to Bond during the season, and you play Bond year after year, it's hard. It's a wear and tear on you. Daniel Craig has said some very strong things about he might be done with the role. We've got to get him those supporting pieces. We're looking at two tight ends, Marty B, we know, Devon House, the corner, who they had previously, and then Ricky G and Francois. You know what I'm looking at? We have the best quarterback in the sport. We have the best player in the sport, and we have the 31st ranked passing defense. All right, this idea, this image of Aaron Rodgers standing on the sideline while teams go up and down the field against the Packers needs to stop, because I look at the Packers, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. We have a window for Aaron Rodgers. It's shame to me that Aaron Rodgers has been to one Super Bowl. How has he only been to one? He didn't even get to one and lose it. One Super Bowl, and you're pairing him with this terrible pass defense. Guys, who's guarding Julio Jones? Because I still don't see him out there. I don't know how they're doing this. And it's going and going and going with Aaron Rodgers leading and not having the help. You know, we compare him to Jordan. Jordan could go down the other end of the floor and lock up Drexler or Magic or Rod Strickland if he needed to. Aaron Rodgers, the best player in the game, by nature of our sport, walks off the field. I don't know if Green Bay has done so far, maybe in the draft. All I want to see is pass rushers and defensive backs.
I'm so sad for the Packers, let me tell you.
Hey, you're coming from the Bears' perspective.
I'm so sad for them. What are they going to do?
It's a sob story, right?
Yeah,
only names to get to the title game. What are you going to do? They have the best quarterback and not enough pieces.
You know, Michael Silver on our network is pretty good with this. He thinks it's like criminal that Ted Thompson never gives Rodgers. Like, why doesn't Rodgers get support? Imagine he's great, but imagine if he did have some of these amazing free agents. Imagine they went out and got Brandon Cooks for Aaron Rodgers, or imagine they went out and got some of these star players.
They got Charles Woodson. Look what happened.
And they got Julius Peppers.
Yes.
Look what happened. When you go out and you do it, you get it. Now, my one thing would be this. I'm not sure. I mean, Marty B is a great personality and a wonderful year. Cook or Martellus Bennett, I thought Cook and Rodgers had something going right there. I think Cook's agent overplayed her hand, and now you've got Martellus Bennett over Cook. But I'm not sure that's an upgrade or it's even or if it's almost a downgrade.
Well, when you look at what Martellus Bennett was able to do with the Patriots when he got opportunities, I mean, he had a 3-touchdown game last season. So, I mean, there's some thought that people think, well, he could be one of the best tight ends in the game, maybe the best in the Grand Conference.
They need defense, guys. They got Rodgers. They don't care who's out there at tight end. They need defense. They better go big in the draft, or I'm worried they're not going to get there again.
This whole division needs defense outside of Minnesota Vikings. Let's just keep that straight. Let's move on to Chicago.
Let's do it,
because you added Mike Lennon, and you want to keep my, 2017 morning show pinata safe, right? You need an offensive line. You need to address who's he going to throw to, Nate Burleson.
Right.
Marcus Wheaton, call me when you have a 750-yard season.
Not even 750? All right.
They have so many needs. They have the 3rd overall pick. They have to consider San Francisco's picking right in front of them, Peter. So San Francisco has a ton of needs. You don't know who's going to be there at 3, even though they picked so early in the draft. Listen, I know you need offensive line. I know you need a wide receiver, but address the defense. That's what I need you to do. I don't care who you pick. Pick Jamal Adams, Solomon Thomas, Jonathan Allen out of Alabama. I'm fine with that. The D tackle. Do something because your defense. Help Vic Fangio out, my boy.
Right.
Jay Cutler didn't even make that graphic.
Nah,
said Lawson, said Brian Hoyer and Matt Barkley. To me,
that's too sad to put it on there, Peter. It's too sad.
To me, you're changing the entire culture with Mike Glennon now. And is he a franchise guy? The book is not written yet.
Peter, last time they were out of the pits of the NFC North was 2013.
That's crazy.
Out of the bowels of the division.
They've been in 4th place every time.
I'll say to them this, they're strong at backup quarterback. Sanchez, yes! After gig, Count Sanchez, he is a vampire. He will not go away.
So he's what, one
snap from being the Bears quarterback. Sanchez always falls forward. I respect him.
Glennon will continue to be my piñata until proven otherwise. But I will say, in the draft, Jordan Howard, you bring this up a lot as far as depth and just the draft in general, fifth rounder, paid off big time. Leonard Floyd, another guy. So there's maybe something to look forward to, maybe.
All right, let's talk about the team that started off my NFL career, the Minnesota Vikings. Now, they had an interesting offseason. Really, they had an interesting season in general. Start off with Teddy Bridgewater getting injured and then them bringing in Sam Bradford. But I want to start with the losses first, and then we'll go to acquisitions. Adrian Peterson, of course, declined the option. Matt Khalil going, Cordero Patterson, who really didn't pan out as a wide receiver. But then Andre Smith and also Chad Greenway retired. Latavius Murray, you have a need, you feel that need, you feel that void. They went with Latavius Murray as a free agent. Riley Reif, who actually played with the Detroit Lions. Very good pass blocking offensive lineman to protect whatever quarterback is going to be there, Mike Rimmers and then Case Keenum. The question is, who's going to be at QB? I think we're all trying to wait and figure out if Teddy Bridgewater is going to be that guy. He had, to me, one of the best preseasons last year. I remember one particular play, he scrambled outside the pocket, which we don't see Teddy do often, gave the guy the 1-2, shook up the linebacker.
That was awesome.
And I'm thinking, whoa, this guy has arrived. And unfortunately, he got injured. So that's my number one question for the Minnesota Vikings. I like what they have at wide receiver. Adam Thielen, who had a big year last year. I mean, he's a guy that just signed back again. He's making plays. Then Stephon Diggs. We're still waiting on Laquan Treadwell, though. That young man who was a top pick, similar to Kevin White in Chicago. Like, okay, you're a top pick, man. Let's go, buddy. You got to make some plays now. And this is the season. All right, you had some time to relax. You got your feet wet. You understand what the NFL is about. We need you to be a big-time splash wide receiver in this league. So offensively, they're good. And just like you said, Kay, defensively, they're monsters. We know what they can bring from a defensive perspective. Is can that offense balance what the defense is going to bring every game? Because some will say, there's games that they're
dying to come back, though, in a big way after everything that happened. Blow after blow, bad luck, whatever you want to call it. Football gods.
Throwing the ball around. It looks all right.
And there was times that defense played well enough for the team to win, and they didn't because the offense didn't fulfill their side. So that offense has to have the most pressure this offseason. So if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, if you're just a fan in general, you want to pay attention to the NFC North, pay attention to that offense and how it's shaping up in Minnesota. Because if they're good, the whole division could change.
Vikings were 5-0, and then by the end of the year, Mike Zimmer had an eye patch.
He's traveling around.
I mean, it was a disaster last year.
Peter, you were in the dinghy with Detroit. I remember that we had a whole thing about that. You in that little inflatable raft with Stafford and Detroit. What's the shape of that dinghy right now?
That dinghy, we were...
Is it patched up?
We were sending out SOSs by the end of the
remember.
season. I was all in on the Lions.
Yeah.
And we hit the iceberg.
The SS Rogers came and gunned it down.
Rogers gunned it down. All right. And before that, it was the SS. It was the SS Dak, and then it was the SS Eli.
There's a lot of SS.
It didn't end pretty for the Lions, and you can't finish the season that way. But I love what they did this offseason. I'm optimistic on them. They added offensive line help. Ricky Wagner and TJ Lang are two bona fide starters. Wagner.
So needed. This was great.
Yeah, he got offered a lot of money by the Vikings, chose to play with Detroit. And then TJ Lang is one of Aaron Rodgers' most protective guys there in Green Bay, and they got him from the division rivals, and they signed there over Seattle. So you have two guys that chose to be in Detroit to protect Stafford, who, by the way, is going to get a monster deal at some point. And then what do? You upgrade from Reif and Warford. The big thing to me is that, Bolden is still unsigned, so I want to see if they can hit a running back, a receiver, but the running back position. Theo Riddick will be back. He'll be healthy, I believe. But what do you do in the draft? I would look at that 21 pick that they have, and whether it's McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook, or if Joe Mixon wants to go up for the board in the first round.
So you add that to Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah?
Yes, because Riddick and Abdullah last year didn't finish the season, and I need to have another guy. I need to have someone that I can know that. No offense to Zach Zenner. I don't think anyone had it in their plans that Zach Zenner would be, toting the rock in the playoffs in Seattle.
He's an insurance policy,
He's
right?
An insurance policy. So, to me, I look at the running back spot, and hats off to Bob Quinn, Kyle O'Brien in that front office in Detroit. They didn't break the bank and go silly. They know what they like, what they have. Yeah. They're close. Yeah. Let's protect Matt Stafford and go from there.
And you make a good point about that running game. Theo Riddick, who showed us some glimpses, Amir Abdullah as well. Theo only had 350 yards rushing total, and he led the team in rushing. So they gotta address that in this offseason.
Garrett Blunt. I'm just saying. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there.
McCaffrey.
NFC North's off-season overhaul. Head on over to NFL.com.